If the Niners make the playoffs, Brock Purdy is top 10. If he throws for 4,000 yards and 25 touchdowns, he is undoubtedly a top 10 name. This whole Brock Purdy is ass narrative, he's an average quarterback, he's a system guy. Let's take a step back, and I want to ask, at what point do we forget about college? Do we forget about the draft? And we focus on the reality of the league? There's a handful of guys that are deemed better than Brock Purdy, who he's more talented than, who he's more successful than. But they have flashy arms. They have big names coming out of college. When do we focus on Brock Purdy and what he's done since he arrived in the NFL? Let's boil it down to the most basic of quarterback stats there are: passing yards and passing touchdowns. Now, it's not the be-all, end-all. And context absolutely matters. But listen, when you are ranking quarterbacks, it is something you take into account. Besides film, it's probably the first stat you look at to gauge a quarterback's success. Last year, Brock Purdy was on pace for 4,300 yards passing. That would finish fourth in the league. If he played 2 more games, he was top 5 in passing yards last year. Let's look at 2023. In 2023, he finished 5th in passing yards with 4,300 yards. He threw 5 300-plus yard passing games last year. Is that not incredible with what he had with the situation in San Francisco? Okay, no problem. Let's look at the touchdowns. Last year, he was 15th in passing touchdowns, and he missed 2 games. So he's top 15, missing 2 games. In passing touchdowns with that San Francisco offense, okay. He was 3rd in passing touchdowns in 2023 with 31 total. Like, these are elite numbers. Elite numbers. So at what point do we start looking at the stats, watching the film, and saying, hey, Brock Purdy's pretty good. Hey, he's more than pretty good. He's actually really, really good. And he deserves this money. He deserves to be talked about as a top 10 guy. But okay, don't believe me. Let's dive a little deeper in the stats. Last year, he was 23rd in pickable passes. With a minimum of 250 attempts, 23rd in pickable passes across the league. So what does that tell you? He takes care of the ball, he's efficient, and he's consistent, even when everything around him is inefficient, is inconsistent, and is up in the air for questioning. So, again, at what point do we just look at things and we start being realistic? Okay, he was 5th in EPA per play last year, 5th in the league. He was a consistent quarterback all year long. He balled out. And keep in mind the situation that he was playing in. The defense, completely unstable for the majority of the year. The offensive line, horrendous. His weapons, in and out of the lineup. He never had a consistent lineup, never had a consistent offense, yet he continually showed up for work, put his team in the best position to win, and forked out 6 wins last year when he was starting. And people are still telling me, hey, he doesn't deserve the money. Hey, he shouldn't have got this. Shouldn't have gotten X, Y, Z. Yeah, I think it's BS. And then they'll make the excuse of like, look at what's around him, JV. Look what he's got. Trent Williams, a superstar. He's 37 years old. George Kittle, he's 32 years old. And that's not a diss on George Kittle. He's the best tight end in the league right now. But all I'm saying is he's getting older. He's getting up there in age. Brandon Ayuk, starting the season injured. Jauan Jennings wants a new contract. CMC, fragile. Debo fell off the face of the earth. Brock Purdy was the only guy that would show up to work every single week, put on for this team, and he was really the only bright spot for a very, very dull San Francisco 49ers team last season. The second he's entered the league, from the second he's entered the league to now, he's been a dog. He's put on for this city. He's put on for this team, for this franchise. He's put them on his back when the pressure was on, when the lights were on, and he's balled out. And you know what? I'm looking at this team. I'm looking at this franchise. I'm looking at how they looked last year. Trevor Lawrence wasn't putting up those stats. Dak wasn't putting up those stats. Tua wasn't putting up those stats. Brock Purdy's that guy. And you know what? People don't want to see Brock Purdy succeed because he wasn't supposed to. People don't like it because he turned nothing into something. His name was supposed to disappear from the league within a year or two, but no, he stuck around. He stuck with it. He battled his way to be a starter. He won the position, and once he got it, once he got there for the Niners, there was no looking back. He was ready for his opportunity, and he balled out. And if you're not supporting Brock Purdy, you're part of the problem, okay? Because he's done nothing wrong. He's shown up every single day for work, and he just gets the job done. So he deserved the money. He's been more successful than a handful of guys that are getting paid the same amount as him, but the proof is in the pudding for him. He's not just a what if. He has literally shown he is that guy. And I think the Niners franchise and the future of this team is in really good hands with Brock Purdy, despite what any other critic or analyst has to say. Now, speaking of the Niners and their contract situations, I think it's important that we address the Jauan Jennings situation with the contract. Now, let me preface, okay? I am as big of a Jauan Jennings fan as there is on this planet. Seriously, like, I appreciate what Jauan Jennings has done for this franchise like no one else. I see the value he brings to San Francisco. I see the receiver that he's been over the last few years on third downs, in playoff games, in tight regular season games. We're talking about moments where this team has called on him to shine, and he has delivered. He is a big-time player in big-time moments, the definition of clutch. You need a 200-yard game, he's going to give it to you. You need 3 TDs, he's going to give it to you. You need an acrobatic catch to boost the energy and flip the tide of the game, he's going to do it for you. That being said, I don't think the Niners should pay Jauan Jennings. And it's not a Jauan Jennings thing. That's why I started with that little clip. It's not a player thing with Jauan Jennings. It's not a talent thing. There's nothing in question for me about his abilities. It's as simple as this. He's 28 years old. Realistically, by the time the Niners are contenders, he'll be 30 or 31. They might make the playoffs this year, but they're not going to be Super Bowl contenders. When they're knocking at the door of their next Super Bowl, Jauan Jennings will be 30 or 31 years old. That doesn't sound ideal to me if I'm a Niners fan. Furthermore, the Niners have a bad track record of paying receivers way too much and not getting anything in return. They have a bad track record of overpaying receivers, and it looks ugly after a few years. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Now, I'm not saying Brandon Ayuk won't pan out. Maybe he'll show up in the next few years and really just ball out and the contract will be fine. But as of right now, it hasn't worked. I don't think it's in their best interest to pay another receiver that probably won't be a true number one guy. Jauan Jennings is a perfect fit on a team that is currently contending and needs a boost offensively. But where the Niners are at with the Brandon Ayuk contract, with just paying Brock Purdy, prioritize things. Spend some time on the offensive line, build the team properly, and then you can draft a true number one receiver. You can pick one up in free agency. But there's no need to reach on Jauan Jennings on a contract just to stay loyal to the fan base, because Jauan Jennings will find success elsewhere, and the Niners will too. And I don't think it's a Jauan Jennings talent issue. Again, I want this to be made clear that I am a huge Jauan Jennings fan, and I think he deserves the bag because he's been underappreciated and undervalued and underrated for his entire career. But where the Niners are at as a franchise right now, I see them as a dangerous team this year. I think they will make the playoffs just because of their schedule, which is super light. But I don't think they should invest in an older receiver when there's a lot of receiver talent coming up in the drafts every single year. You have your free agency availability, and you have needs elsewhere on the roster. Take that money, spend it on the offensive line. Upgrade Brock Purdy's protection. Give him time in the pocket, and then you can find your receivers on cheaper deals out of the draft, or maybe even pay a true number one, a dog. But where Jauan Jennings is in his career right now, I just don't see it as a true fit to be a number one for the Niners. But I will say, to end the episode, I do have high hopes for them this year, and I do think the Niners make the playoffs this season.